1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get pumped, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in a Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the Hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters gon' move. Whatever click you choose, you better
say what's cracking, YouTube. It's your boy 16 to Life, and I'm back like I'm on a pro violation. Yard down. Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. Yeah, that's me gassing right there on that intro, man. And if you want to get that song, it's available only on digital download, purchase directly from me. Hit me up on my email at 16tolifemusic@gmail.com. Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle me $20, and I'm going to get it to you ASAP. Now, some of y'all might be familiar with a YouTuber by the name of Dubs, who at times he does prison content. I believe he said he did about 24 years in prison, right? Now, those of you guys who may keep up with the California prison content, the California prison genre, you guys know that there is definitely separation between the races out here in California, and sometimes, you know, it's not necessarily cool to get into the politics of other races in prison, right? Now, it all depends on which prison content creator that you watching. Some of them may choose to what may be seen as getting into the politics of other races, and some may not. You know, now me personally, I have never seen Dubs say that he's a gang member. In fact, I've seen him say the opposite, that he's just a civilian, he's nobody, so on and so forth. Now, in my opinion, Dubs at times, he'll choose to follow prison protocol in relation to other races when it's convenient and when it fits him, and then at other times when it may be beneficial to him, he'll choose to do a video on what some people may consider getting into the politics of black people. Now, me personally, I'm not an individual who's going to bring every aspect of what goes on in prison out here to the streets and let that govern my life, right? I feel that once you hit the streets, if you choose, a man is free to do what a man chooses to do. Others may not feel that way, right? So now let me show you guys a quick video about what Dubs had to say specifically in doing content on black people.
I have to be completely honest. See, like, I'm old school with stuff, right? Like, first, when people try to say, hey, Dubs, stay out of black people's business. Listen, check this out. I don't even know what that means, right? I will stay out of doing whatever content I want when Adam 22 stops doing that same content, when Vlad TV stops doing it, when NBC News stops talking about black people, when CBS, when MSNBC, and everybody else. When you get all them to stop talking about black people, and believe me, that would hurt you, because if nobody's talking about you, you ain't making no moolah, baby. But when you get all them to stop talking, I'll stop talking. In the meantime, I'm going to be right there with everybody else. When I feel there's a story, I'm going to tell the story from my perspective.
And once again, my feelings on that are pretty much the same, with the exception of, I feel that at sometimes potentially doing a video about any subject matter could be problematic, and you have to weigh out the options on, is the potential problem you may receive from doing the video worth what you choose to gain from the video. And once a person weigh that out, like I say, I feel once again, a person is free to do content on whatever he chooses to do content on. When a person chooses to step into the lane of content creator, and the second you start doing content on other individuals, if your name happens to come up on the hot seat, people are going to do content on you, and you have to be able to deal with that. You have to accept that and, you know, just keep it pushing. Now, for those out there who may not watch a lot of this type of content, you have another content creator by the name of Gunnar. Gunnar was originally from Northern California, and he's admitted before in different videos that he's no longer welcome with the individuals he used to run with for whatever reasons they got going on, right? But now Gunnar and Dubs are good friends. They'll often go live together. Despite them being friends, that still doesn't stop Gunnar from doing content on Dubs in relation to Dubs going into a SNY yard, people exposing the fact that he went to a SNY yard, so on and so forth. Of course, you know, when Gunnar, by him and Dubs being friends, Gunnar's he's gonna try to soften the blow. He's gonna speak kindly of Dubs when he's doing the video, but at the end of the day, he does the video and he tries to get his bread. And let me show you a recent video that Gunnar done speaking on Dubs being on the SNY yard, so on and so forth.
You know, I'm surfing the internet looking for content purposes, and I come across Dubs being exposed again, right? One more again. Wow. Every snake, every creature on that side of the fence is going to creep out and have something to say. You know, I guess the talk of the town now is the exposure of Dubs. It's his turn. You know, the exposed game is real. You can't, it's one of those things, man. You can't throw a rock at a glass house, right? And not expect it to shatter into a million pieces. And everyone's trying to get him a little piece. Everyone wants a shard, you know? Now, it all started from a righteous individual. When I say a righteous individual, someone in good standings that expressed not this nor that, but just basically said, hey, this is what I was told by dudes at a high level that actually knew Dubs in real life, face to face, you know, functioned on yards with him, around him, which only leads to me saying, hey, Dubs was really doing it at some point in time. He was really with the activities if he was around these types of guys, right? Like he's always expressed. And he said, hey, he's no longer embraced. He's no longer in good standings. That's understandable. It's not the end of the world. You know, I've dealt with it within my people. I'm not embraced. I'm not in the best of standings, but we all have our own story.
So recently, like a day or two ago, you had Gunnar and Dubs go live. At some point, you know, and I guess they on there drinking during the live or whatever, having having fun or whatever. At some point, somebody informs those dudes, hey man, Chill released a video on you. Immediately and automatically, Dubs goes to being extremely disrespectful towards me, right? And I addressed that in the video yesterday, right? He did call me, he apologized, so on and so forth. Now, you're gonna have some people that say, hey, Pro Chill, you know, you made a video and you said that, you know, you respected his apology. I do respect his apology. But at the end of the day, I still feel that there should be accountability, especially when they misrepresented the nature of the phone call in a slanderous way and trying to make it seem like I was Howard the Coward. Keep in mind also, now this was a phone call that we had behind the scenes. So my feelings on that is, if you guys want to lie and bring forth a phone call that we had behind the scenes and you want to make that public, let's make public the whole entire conversation. And real quickly, how we arrived at that point anyway is this. Dubs made a video in reference to black people, right? Something that I disagreed with. So I made a video in responding to that video. Now, for whatever reason, Gunnar felt the need to insert himself into that situation. It's cool. You know, we all YouTube content creators. Somebody say something you disagree with, whatever, make your video. But in the course of Gunnar's video, Gunnar happens to mention that I done time at a prison that Southerners and Northerners are not allowed to go to. Okay, that's fine. I'm not a Southerner. I'm not a Northerner. So of course I took offense to him trying to judge me or trying to tarnish my image on politics that apply to him, politics that he has already admitted to that he's no longer under because he left and couldn't do his time in accordance to however they have to do their time, right? Once again, he admitted he's no longer welcome among his people. So I reached out to somebody, got Gunnar's number. I called him and I said, hey, listen, Gunnar, I don't have a problem with you making your videos, doing your YouTube thing. But once you try to insinuate that, you know, I done time on yards, that's not cool. Just keep in mind that you opening up the door for me to talk about where you've been and where Dubs has also done his time on, because we all know that Dubs' status is in question, right? Now keep in mind, at that time, I had been doing YouTube for about 2 years, so periodically people who do not like Dubs often send me material in relation to Dubs and, Dubs being on the SNY yard, so on and so forth. They want me to expose him, talk bad about him, whatever. I've always chose to stay out of that. Almost exactly in the same manner after Dubs and Joker done the live. I wasn't watching that live. I didn't record it. By the time I woke up the next morning, I had 3 different versions sent to my Instagram saying, hey, Chill, look what these dudes are saying about you, right? During the course of the conversation, Gunnar says, well, hey, Chill, I think you and Dubs need to talk and discuss you guys' issues. I tell Gunnar right then and there, man, listen, I have Dubs' phone number and I've had it for several years. I don't have a problem with Dubs. I have a problem with what he said about black people, and I responded and made my video. Gunnar says, well, I still think you guys will talk. I hit him up right now. I told Gunnar, hey, listen, man, I'm getting ready to go to a party or do something. If you want to discuss this, get a hold of Dubs. If it's cool, hey, call me tomorrow. So Gunnar calls me the next day. So he puts us on the phone. Dubs says, hey, Chill, what's up? I explained to him the same thing I explained to Gunnar. I don't have a problem with you. I disagree with what you said on that video, and I made my response. But then once Gunnar inserts himself into the situation and starts talking about, hey, well, Chill done time at CMC. So I told Dubs, if that's the avenue that Gunnar wants to go down, just keep in mind that opens up the door for me to talk about Gunnar's status and your status. Dubs says then, well, hey, Chill, what is my status? I tell Dubs, well, of course, I don't know 100%. I wasn't on the line with you, but I definitely believe when it comes to your people, you're no good. Then he went on to explain a few other things in relation to him going SNY that I don't necessarily feel is important for me to talk about, right? And this whole conversation would have stayed private had him and Gunnar not chose to make it public. Now, if you guys gonna choose to make this conversation public, then my thing is be honest about the whole conversation. Now, let's get into the audacity of these 2 individuals, right? Both these 2 individuals did not complete the mission that they signed up for. I don't want to hear dudes talk about this structure is harder than that structure, so on and so forth. It is what it is, man. You knew what you signed up for. You know what I'm saying? So the audacity, right, for these dudes to even try to insinuate, speak negative, or downplay an individual for doing what they know that they have done, right? So they set up there on that live, right, and you had Gunnar playing the role of the ultimate wingman. Oh yeah, Chill was all hell yeah. Chill was all hell yeah, which is a whole bunch of. Keep in mind, right, I've done about the exact same amount of time that Dubs has done. No, it wasn't 15 years in CMC. I don't know where the hell they got that number from, right? So I start off in Salinas Valley, do a couple of years in Salinas Valley. I go down to Ironwood. I do 6 years in Ironwood. My points drop down to level 2. I do about 5 months on a level 2. I catch a sticking in Corcoran on the level 2. I go back to the level 4. Eventually, they put me back up to go to a level 3. They told me that I was either going to Centinela, which is cool, extremely close to my house, or I was going to Pleasant Valley, which is cool as well because my homie Biscuit was there. He was running the music program. He had a keyboard in his cell. I'd be able to hop back into my music. So the day they called me to transpack my stuff and I asked, hey, what prison I'm going to, they said, you going to CMC East, which is something that happens often. The prisons may tell you that you're going to one particular prison. Then at the time they get ready to move you, there's no bed space. They send you somewhere else. Unlike many different other YouTubers who have gone to prison and who get out and who hop into the so-called prison genre, I try not to let the rules of prison dictate every facet of my life in this free world. Now, there's definitely some things that I learned on the streets as a gang member and in prison that I feel are definitely good lessons to hold on in life today. And I continue to move like that regardless of the fact that I'm no longer in prison or no longer out there actively gang banging. Now, there's 3 rules that I learned that I definitely still try to apply today. One of those rules is if you got something to say to somebody, say it in their face. Another one of those rules is if you got a true homeboy or a family member and somebody disrespects that person and that person is not there, and if you know that dude is worthy of it, then you defend that man's honor in the same fashion and manner he would defend himself if he was there and a person had something to say that was disrespectful or untrue. The last thing is You don't fight another man's battles. Real quick, man, I had a good homie who I was on the streets with. He was from my hood, and at least on 2 occasions, maybe more, but at least on 2 occasions, we went out there and we put in some work with them pistols, right? Me and him happened to be in the county jail. He has a few words with a dude punches him in the face, and he just sit there. I said, hey homie, get him, man, get him. He sat there. So I'm not just to sit back and fight his battles if he won't fight for himself, right? Those are things that I believe and I take to heart. So when I went to prison, one of those rules was reinforced, and that's the no cell soldiering rule. Basically, a cell soldier is when you lock behind the cell and you hollering at somebody, you can't get to him and he can't get to you. So what's the sense of hollering, making all that noise? I notice a lot of people these days in this internet and social media space, they are in the lip boxing and tongue wrestling. And me, sorry man, that's just not my thing. I'm not just to be hollering at no computer screen, screaming and hollering at a dude. Listen man, if a dude is an hour away, you might as well be 1,000 hours away. So for those of you guys that's into that, hey, so be it. You know, I'm talking to the dudes who specifically wanted me to match Dub's energy, wanted me to get on here screaming, hollering, and all that type of stuff. I mean, y'all might be cool. Y'all might be into that. That might be a good look for y'all. That's not a good look for me. I'm just not into that. And with all due respect, I don't value the opinion of a person who has not been in my shoes, who has not done a long stretch in prison, as I value the opinion of people who have. You get me 10 solid Bloods or Crips who have done not even necessarily life, but who has done a considerable amount of time the right way, who has stuck to their street principles, who's not told on their homies, who's not went S and Y. You get them to come on here and tell me that I'm wrong for not being a cell soldier, not screaming and hollering at a drunk individual, then I might just consider it, but I'm still not going to agree with it. You know, just to keep it 100, man, this street shit is entirely different than the civilian life, right? And even though I'm no longer an active gang member, I've already made my bed in terms of there's certain things that I can and I cannot do. There's certain things that I refuse to do that a civilian may do under certain circumstances, right? And doing all the time in prison that I did, I learned a lot from Crips and Bloods, either in conversation or just watching a person's actions, right? That if you're going to be part of that life, it's just a certain type of thing that you have to adhere to. So now, you know, for all the game goofy civilians out there who wants me to match the energy, the same energy Dubs has, you mean to tell me in this day and age, right now, as far as what we got going on and seeing what's going on with this Rico situation involving Big U and others, y'all want me to get on the internet and scream, holler, and cuss, potentially threaten somebody else? Because we never know what the future holds. You never know who you may bump into. You never know what's going to transpire in the future. You never know. I don't plan on going back to jail, but I didn't plan on going the first time. So you never know what's going to play out in the future, right? So in my opinion, coming on here, making threats, even entering a back and forth beef with an individual who obviously didn't complete his own mission, who didn't stand up to the standards that he set for himself, to me, that's asinine. While I'm not proud of going to prison, I sleep pretty well knowing that I completed the mission. I paroled from CMC West, a level 2. On that yard, you had every fraction except for Bulldogs. You had Southerners, you had Northerners, you had whites, you had Asians, you had every faction who does time in prison except for Bulldogs. And once again, I brought to the forefront a behind the scenes conversation because Dubs and Gunnar chose to bring it to the forefront, and they chose to misrepresent the facts because I felt they tried to lie and intentionally and purposely slander and tarnish me and my image. Now, I don't know if you guys caught it or not, but the very next day after making the disrespectful video, they did go live and issued me an apology, and I respect that. I do kind of find it funny, while they claim to be extremely drunk, they were able to remember the nature of a conversation that happened at least 7 or 8 months ago, but they couldn't remember what they said. So the reason why I chose to drop the first video is to say that, hey, listen, man, I do not take certain things personally, especially when a dude is jibber jabbing over the computer. That's just not my get down once again. Trying to be the heavyweight champion of lip boxing and tongue wrestling has never been an ambition of mine. When it's all said and done, Dubs chose to gangbang. Dubs chose to commit the crime that he committed. Dubs chose to go S and Y. Dubs then chose to bring a behind the scenes conversation to the forefront, and so I feel that I have every right to come correct the situation and speak the truth about the situation. Also, during that live when they got disrespectful, you'll hear Dubs ask Gunnar, "You was there, right, Gunnar? You was on the phone?" Gunnar says, I was. Now speak on that, Gunnar. Anyway, man, look, y'all already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to life. I will set the record straight. I will not do the cell soldiering. Y'all already know what time it is, man. Resume normal program.
But you know, even when we're at war, we don't need to disparage each other.